So hi everyone. Welcome to the Study Law information session. Alicia and I are here just to welcome people, and we're also joined by Theo, Joe and Sagi, who are going to give you a bit of a rundown through the majors we have here at UWA.
We'd just like to first start off with an acknowledgement of country, and our campus is situated on Noongar land, and we'd like to acknowledge that Noongar people remain the spiritual and cultural custodians of their land, and they continue to practice their values, languages, beliefs and knowledge.
So we're so lucky here at UWA to be at the 75th best law school in the world. Also from a student perspective, it's such an amazing community in the UWA Law School. We've got a really diverse team of staff and students, and it's just a really great place to come and learn every day. UWA Law School has 90 years of excellence. We're the oldest law school in WA and the 5th oldest in Australia.
We'll just also do some housekeepings before the presentation starts. So you don't have to worry because your microphone is muted and your video is off, so we can't see you, you can only see us. So there'll be a presentation first about all of our majors, and then it will be followed by a Q&A. So you can type any questions you've got into the box and we'll be answering them at the end. And if your question doesn't get answered, you'll have the opportunity to post it on a discussion board, and then it will be answered online as well.
So now we're going to throw over to Joe, Theo and Sagi to give you guys a rundown on our majors for undergraduate law at UWA.
Hi everyone, I'm Theo. I'm the director of the Law and Society major. So the Law and Society major looks at law not as like a series of rules or principles, but as a kind of human and social institution. It asks questions like, how does law connect to society? What kind of social changes lead to legal changes? It asks questions like, what would it mean for law to be fair and just and create an equitable society? There's some units up there that are studied in Law and Society major that might be interesting to you: evolution of human rights, birth, life, death in the law, social media in the law, Indigenous peoples in the law. So we look at questions around social justice, fairness, and the impact of law on people's lives. So that's the Law and Society major in a nutshell.
Hi everybody, I'm Joe and I'm the director of the criminology major at UWA, and it just started this year is the first year we've offered this major as part of the arts degree. It's a really exciting addition to the program that we have here. Criminology, I always say to first years when they start doing my unit, is that it's not really a thing, it's like the crime end of a whole load of other existing disciplines. And so the point of criminology as a major is about being able to apply the way that we've explained why crime happens, why people are criminals, and how we respond to criminal behaviour, and what the policies and practices that we have in place at the moment are, and then we can learn about what we could do better maybe moving forwards. This can be taken as a major with within any other degree that you may choose. So you don't have to pick an arts degree, and you could still take criminology as a second major. The structure of it is that there's at the first, second and third year you'll do a criminology specific unit, and then there's a forensic science unit that you have to do. There's a qualitative and quantitative research methods unit, some psychology, and then some streams that are split across history, anthropology, geography, or law and society type majors. So, and you can see on the slide there that the types of careers that this would lead to.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sagi Perry, and I'm the director of business law major. Business law major explores the relationship between business and law. Law is so important for business. Law is so important for our daily life. I'm sure that each one of you signed a contract this week, last week. Many of you engaged with companies, company law. Those of you who will study accounting will be the significance of the law of tort, law of negligence. The law is really important for business. So what we do in business law major, We're trying to take the legal aspects of business, legal aspects of commercial law very seriously. We teach commercial law, we teach contracts, we teach the law of negligence. We also teach something which became really important, which is consumer protection, because consumers require special protection, and we also teach this one as well. In terms of the students who study business law major, we have many students from Bachelor of Commerce, but we also have students from Bachelor of Arts and other degrees as well. Also, and specifically because of COVID-19, we place especially emphasis on online commerce, on internet, and legal aspects of internet commerce and internet communication.
Good. Okay. Is there any there that you guys want to pick from? Some JD questions that got a lot of these connected to the talk that Nat and Sarah just did. Do you want to talk to that one?
So one of the questions is, do you have to take a law major in your undergraduate studies to apply for the JD? And the answer is no, you don't have to do one of the undergraduate law degrees in order to then move on to the JD. You can study anything before applying for the JD. But if you're interested in law, obviously doing one of the undergraduate law majors gives you some familiarity with talking and thinking about the law and working with the law as well.
Theo, can you talk to that one as well, about whether your ATAR score is looked at when
For
you
the
apply for the
JD.
JD?
I'd have to check that one for the JD.
There might be some. It's worth checking. How useful is the PPE or the BPPE undergrads for Juris Doctors? They're new though, right? This year, is that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they're obviously new degree offerings that we've got this year, but they would be a good direct pathway option if that's what you wanted to do, to head straight into the JD from there.
I can see a question there about law and society, asking, would you recommend a double major in law and society and political science? That is a popular combination for people studying law, interested in thinking and moving on to studying the JD later on. You don't have to do it. It's not necessary. You can do whatever major combinations you like with law and society, but that is a particularly popular one because law and politics obviously work hand in hand really well together. So when you're talking about politics and you're talking about law, many times you're talking about the same thing. So it's got a natural kind of synergy there together.
Is this scrolling up or down? I seem to be scrolling down. Yeah. Going down, okay. Question go. Oh, Beck must have answered it. Theo, do you want to talk to the specific careers law and society leads to?
Sure. So what specific career does law and society lead to? It's an open-ended degree where you deal a lot with law. I think there's some career pathways and options that are up on the WA Undergraduate Handbook website. There's some popular pathways might include something like a policy manager, someone working with marketing perhaps. It's got a lot of, if you work with law and policy development, any kind of job that deals with that comes out of the law and society major.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that as well. I think the criminology major there's a definite synergy with law and society as a major. Employment-wise, there's a lot of potential to use the sort of critical thinking skills, the knowledge-specific skills to crime and the criminal justice system and crime prevention and dealing with victims, and also the more generic skills around research, critical thinking. These types of skills set you up really well for a lot of government entry positions in policy, research, and also the private sector is looking for people who have these specific sets of skills as well. So it's always in the top 3 ticket items, big ticket items for state elections. This is always something that people are looking to spend money better and do things differently. And so having that content knowledge combined with the other things you pick up with your degree here would be a very sort of good and useful foundational bachelor's degree, I think.
So, all right. So in terms of business law and future employment, probably many of our students eventually become lawyers afterwards they study law. Also, a lot of our students actually need business law major in order to run business as an essential aspect of business. So the law is everywhere in so many aspects of commercial activity. And also we do have students who actually afterwards work for the government. We're working on the skills of drafting documents, on the skills of analytical skills, and so on. Plus, we have actually also students who actually have actually very successful career in finance, in banking, which also involve a significant aspect of business law.
Joe, Saggy and Claire, we have a question here about which majors to take if somebody wants to practice law internationally, perhaps?
Right, so if somebody wants to practice law internationally, in terms of business law major, we designed our third level, level 3 units, which is more advanced units, with students will study on level 3, units such as international commercial law, which actually deal with international aspects of law. We also have a unit which heavily focuses on e-commerce, and we have a unit called international investment law. In other words, we actually very much design, especially now advanced units that students will take on international aspects, students that actually would be interested to practice international law, international commerce, and any other foreign aspects of law, not just Australia.
And Calvin and Alicia, we had a question about the social aspects of the law school and what it's like to be a student. Did you want to tell us about what you've been involved in?
Yes, sure. The law school definitely has a very social culture. Not only is there sort of a society which is called the Blackstone Society that facilitates actual social events like balls and cocktail parties, etc. There are also the friends that you make in your units as well are really good, because me personally, I did the Law and Society major, and the tutorials in that are very discussion based and facilitate making friends with people in your classes, and you sort of follow those same people through your undergraduate degree in your major, and then you might find them again in the JD, which I found happened to me with a lot of my friends from undergrad as well.
Yeah, and I did the business law major and I had the same experience as Alicia. One of the nicest things about the law undergraduates is that they're a bit smaller than some of the other majors at UWA, and so you really do make much more of a community, and you get to know people much better, which is really lovely.
Great, thanks. We have a question here about, are there any opportunities outside of Australia with a law degree? And does the university support studying outside of Australia for a period of time? So maybe, can anyone talk about any exchange or study abroad they've taken? Calvin and Alicia, have you been overseas?
Yes, we both have, in fact. In my undergraduate, I went to UCLA, so the University of California in Los Angeles, and I did a 6-week exchange there, which was really good to fit in between semesters. So I sort of had a shorter term exchange, and I did business law and management there. And then Calvin.
Yes. So I went to Kyoto in Japan for a full semester exchange in my undergrad. And one of the best things about the Juris Doctor program, if you do choose to continue studying law, is that because you have a whole undergraduate degree, you have a lot more flexibility, and you can go almost anywhere in the world on exchange while you do that degree, which is really amazing. And then if you do come into the JD, you can go again, and there are lots of partner universities that have the option.
Awesome, great to see you going overseas. I know it's an interesting time now, but you never know where we're going to be at in a year or two. Joe, I had one about criminology here. It has disappeared. Oh, what is the ATAR score for criminology? I believe it is 75 for the Bachelor of Arts. And what happens if they can't meet the ATAR score to get into criminology? Maybe you can also talk more generally about the new course and why we set it up.
Thanks, Beck. I'll start with the second part of the question. So I think criminology is an incredibly interesting area that UWA is investing in because of the demand from the market. And we can provide a really unique course at UWA. The major that we put together here is fundamentally the best major in Western Australia if you want to study criminology. It's an inherently interdisciplinary area of study. And the structure that we have here forces people to take a genuinely interdisciplinary approach to this, understanding this is a discipline area. And you will come out with a set of skills that really do give you an understanding of the breadth of criminology as a sort of area that you can learn about, and also in a very applied way, looking at trying to understand why crime happens through to the sort of policy responses that we currently use and the ways of evaluating that along the way. I guess that's the answer to the second part. My understanding is that if you're enrolled in the BA, the ATAR score for that is 75 to get into criminology as one of your majors. I can't remember what the third part of the question was. Okay. Right. So if you don't have an ATAR that would let you get in that way, there are a lot of alternative entry pathways, enabling pathways that UWA has, and a lot of that information will be available on the website. And there's people available today who will be able to give you a much better answer to that question. But there's definitely options if you don't have the ATAR score that you think you need for that cutoff.
An interesting one for you all who might have spoken a lot to our alumni. Do you know which companies most frequently recruit from our law school? Where have your alumni gone and so forth? I'll throw this out to anybody.
Well, I want to say something about the experience of studying at UWA here at the University of Western Australia. I think it's truly a great university. This is the feedback I hear from our students. And also, we as lecturers, we also feel it's a really great place to be. Now, in terms of places in the future, in terms of future employment, I must say that the fact that we are very best university in Western Australia and one of the best universities in the world actually this fact actually plays a really important role in recruitment process. At the end of the day, the fact that this university is so good, not just in terms of the feedback that we hear, but also in terms of the numbers, the international ranking and domestic ranking plays a really important role. I do hear it from our previous students how important is the fact that I studied at UWA. Just this name actually delivers and actually proves the quality of this institution. It's a great academic institution.
Great, Sagi, thank you so much. We had one about, which job or career would someone have who studied business law, and what would they be qualified for? Another one for you, Sagi.
Well, as I mentioned, probably half of our students eventually become lawyers. However, the other half, a very significant number of students, they actually work in business. They work in business in various sectors of business, whether it's accountant, many of them actually run a business, or they work in a corporation, or they work in a bank, financial institution, and it's really, really essential for them to acquire those skills of business law.
And with the law and society major, which minors or modules or classes or units would help best prepare for the JD? I also would like to ask Calvin or Alicia this. Which units did you find that best prepared you for the Juris Doctor?
Well, it's nice that you've got both of us here. So I did the business law major, and I think that the best thing about having done that major before the JD is that you learn so many skills about, things that don't sound hard when you say them, like how to read a case and how to cite cases properly and all of these soft skills like how do you write a law answer. And so it's actually, there's not just one that's particularly helpful. Having done all of them gives you all of these skills that you need so that when you start the JD and you go into your first semester and you're doing 4 law units, you're not in shock about all of these like small skills that you have to learn in addition to learning the content. You have all the skills and all you have to do is learn the content. And I think that's the best thing about having done a pre-law major before you jump into the JD.
Very similarly, like law and society major, and law and society was very research focused. There were lots of sort of research essays, and those definitely come up in the JD. They're often like the main assignment in JD units is the research task, and that was really helpful. And also there are lots of JD units that are sort of public law focused, and they do feed into a sort of like government perspective or societal perspective and law reform, etc. And law and society really set me up well for that, and had taught me a lot about like the political system generally before I entered the JD, which was really helpful as well.
Great, thanks. It's always good to hear from our current students and what it's like on the street or on the footpath. So there's another question. If you take the Juris Doctor, would qualifications be needed beyond it if you didn't want to do law as a career and only wanted to do law to support like a different major, like accounting or finance? I think maybe if any of you, Sagi, Theo, or Joe, can talk about doing the Juris Doctor not for a law career, perhaps, and where it can take you instead.
Sure. Plenty of people do the Juris Doctor and don't intend to become a lawyer at the end of it. It's a really broad, open-ended degree that qualifies you in terms of critical thinking and working with and knowing about the law. So when I went through the law school and did my law degree, plenty of my colleagues went on to jobs in local government or business as well. You don't have to go into law as a lawyer from doing the JD. That's one pathway that many people want to do, but it's not the only pathway by any means.
We're getting the sign that I think we've run out of time, I'm afraid. So thank you all for attending. Really appreciate it. And if there's anything that we haven't had a chance to answer, the questions will be logged and we'll do our best to get an answer back to you as soon as we can. But thank you very much.
And I hope we hope to see you all next year here at UWA taking one of the law majors, or actually more than one.
At least one.
At least one.
Thank you, everyone. If we didn't answer your question, please head on down to the Open Day website, the Business and Law page, and we have a discussion board there where we'll answer the rest of your questions. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.